Welcome to Stunt Tales Falling for the Stars. My name's Steve Hart. Today we're with Mickey Gilbert and Jim Arnett, the original Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. These guys have been in the business for a long time, decades. They've doubled Robert Redford and Paul Newman. But there's another movie that's one of my favorites that you guys both worked on. That's Sometimes a Great Notion, with Newman and big all-star cast: Richard Jekyll, Henry Fonda. And you guys, where'd you do that? Up north?
We were in Oregon, on the Oregon coast, and
Lincoln City.
Yeah, Lincoln City and Newport, that whole area. And we shot. Actually, I was up there in April. I think we started shooting in June, and we were there until October. It was between the weather and the going back and forth, and some of the sequences, like we're drowning Jekyll. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of time to keep moving that big log around.
Well, you were telling me that because they've got, what, a 12-foot tide or something?
We had a 12-foot tide at that point, and this was back a couple of miles from the ocean, but it was in a river, and where this log was, the only time you could move it was at high tide. So if high tide happened to be at midnight, which it was a little after that, that's when we'd go and position the log. I mean, we knew where we wanted it, so we'd had stakes in, and we'd go out at night and do that. And that whole sequence with Jekyll was just rehearsal, and Jekyll did it. I mean, he grew up in Southern California in the ocean, and he was pretty comfortable in the water.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And he was terrific.
That's one of my favorite scenes of all time, with him and Newman, and they did most of it, right?
Yeah, they did it all.
It was funny because
very real.
Newman would be giving him mouth to mouth, and they'd be shooting down under Jekyll, and Jekyll would put his fingers in Newman's ear. He said, "Quit screwing around," But then it got him,
So, but you guys had a hookah in the water for Jekyll and
we did,
all that stuff?
And we used it a few times, but not, by and large, it was, he'd come up and get some air.
How was Henry Fonda to work with there?
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. We didn't have a lot to do with Fonda, but there were a lot of very real things. It was Ken Kesey's book, Sometimes a Great Notion. Kesey lived just south of us. He came up for, I don't know, a couple days.
You had some really good stunt guys up there working. I mean, you and Jim.
We had 20 guys, I think, at the time we did the bike chase. We started off with there was a little motocross track that was pretty short, kind of real short. We had Jan Roberts and a lot of guys.
Leonard was up there with you too, huh?
Leonard, the first morning of the motorcycle race, he popped his shoulder out, and so we carted him off. And then the next bike casualty was Newman, who broke his ankle and shut everything down.
Wow.
So then we all went away for 6 weeks?
Yeah, it was quite a while.
And then came back, and then
you tweaked yourself.
Then I
tweaked his knee.
Popped my knee.
And then it ended up with the big fight at the beach.
Yeah.
It started off playing touch football, which went to tackle football by the third down, and had guys like Roy Jensen and Needham and
Charlie Horvath.
It was great.
There's one sequence that really worked good, and it was where this guy came from town, and he's trying to tell Newman and Jekyll about this thing, and they say, "Get the hell out of here!" And he came to get to their house. You had to come across the river.
Right.
That was it. And so he runs down because they're chasing him, and we had these little lead pipes with fuses in them. So he light them. They looked like dynamite.
Oh, when he was in the boat?
When he's in the boat.
Yeah.
And so I went out there with the effects guys, and we ran these lines in a clover leaf, and there was, right under the water, there's a explosion. There's these dynamite things that are going to blow 30 feet in the air, Well, I'm going to be in the boat steering it, And when I get around number one, you know, they're going to hit it. Well, I was at least smart enough to put plywood in the bottom of my boat. I sheeted it with 1/2-inch plywood, pushed it down. Well, you never know.
Right?
And so anyway, I come to number one and blow, and it blows the boat like, you know, and it knocks me down and all that shit. Well, you can do it. And then I go to the next one, and I hit it, you know, boom, that goes up. And now I'm looking for the next one, and I can't see it. And I go right over the top of it, and I go hit it, and they blew this, and this boat goes blow up in the air like that, and I go out of it, and I hollered back, "Keep rolling, I'm okay. I'll swim to shore." Yeah. And they used it. They used it? Oh yeah, it was a good piece.
Oh, good.
It was so real. Yeah.
Thank goodness for 1/2-inch plywood, huh?
Yeah, oh man.
Oh, it'd have blown the bottom. And you.
Oh, and me, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And then you told me that one of your favorite things ever was going to Africa and doing Africa, Texas style. And you got to rope a whole bunch of different creatures.
Yeah, yeah.
How about the Cape Buffalo?
That was my funnest. Yeah, they did the movie Africa, Texas style, Cowboy in Africa. A game rancher wanted to employ 2 cowboys to come over and rope wild animals, and they would domesticate them. And so they called me down there, and Bundy Martin was the director, and he didn't trust me very much.
No?
He didn't think I could cut it, you know. He said, "So you're gonna ride the horse and you're gonna rope the animal, and but then you stop him? You can do all that?" I said, "Yeah, I do it all the time, just not wild animals." He said, okay, that's good. So we fly the horses to Africa.
You had another guy with you, though, right?
I had my father-in-law.
Had your father-in-law,
yeah. So we go over there and get everything perfect. And I think the first thing we rode was the eland. And the eland is the biggest of antelopes. And this one, the one I picked to rope was as big as my horse. He probably weighed 1,500, you know. And they run, if this is their, well, here's their horns, here's their nose, their horns come back this way.
They kind of extend back over the back.
And so when you rope them, there's just a special way to throw a rope on them. But anyway, when I roped them and dallied, I couldn't just stop from behind. I had to ride way off to the left side of them and then jerk them around. And so we did that. And then we roped the wildebeest, which are a lot of fun. They're just like roping steers.
Yeah.
And then I bulldogged the wildebeest. And I did that on my own. I told Joe, I said, "Hey, Joe, I'm going to bulldog one of these." And these wildebeests are known for fighting with their heads low. So the minute you would get down on them, they'll throw their head in the ground, you know. And
so they're helping you.
So when I got down on him, I got down right on his neck and grabbed him, and bam, he throws me into the ground. We do a somersault, and I'm hanging on to pick him up and throw him down. And Joe said, "You know, that's not on camera." I said, "I know, I just wanted to do it."
But
and so then from there, I roped the zebras. They were crazy. Zebras, they bark, 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 like that.
Yeah.
And they'll jump in the air, like they'll jump 6 feet above their rear ends. I mean, way up, you know.
Wow.
And a lot of them, we just had to turn the ropes loose.
And you roped lions.
And I roped a lion.
How do you get your rope off a lion?
Well,
Very carefully.
no.
Have somebody else do it?
So we found a big male lion, and in this veldt area, and we came in downwind from him, so he couldn't smell us, but he saw us, and he's looking at us, and we're about 60, 70 yards from him, and he's just looking at us. I said, "Okay, Joe, I'm all ready to go here, but let's get up, see how close we can go." I said, "We need to get close to him until he can really, if he starts to smell us, we got to charge him and see if he will run. And if we don't, we got to get the hell out."
Because if he doesn't run.
I mean, this is for real. And so we did. We got about maybe 50 feet from him. And then he got back on his front paws, and then I just hollered. He said, yeah, yeah. And we took off after him right away. He's being charged, and he can't smell. So he turns and he runs, so I rode up and I roped him, and then I dallied and took off. And now, any animal you choke, they'll pull back. Most of them will pull back and struggle. Well, that's when Joe would come in. He'd poke his head. Now we got him between us, so he can't go anywhere.
Right.
So when he's between us, so we have these big crush boxes, and you have the natives lift the gate up, and we just walked the line right into them. They prodded them in with these little things they had, and once they got them in there, we dropped the gate, take the ropes off.
We're back talking about you roped a Cape buffalo, which is a lot different than a water buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
And there's something about a rhinoceros, too.
Well, let's talk about the Cape.
Okay.
So I had a bush pilot that would fly out and pick me up, and he'd fly me all over Uganda, ECO, and we'd been looking for herds and stuff. So we found this one herd, buffalo, giraffes, zebras, and wildebeest, and elephants, and they're along this one big river. I don't think it was the Nile. I can't remember, but it was a big river.
Zambezi.
Huh?
Zambezi.
Maybe, yeah, it sounds familiar. And along the river, coming off of it was a mountain starting to come up, so it left a big flat area about 500 feet long of just nice pasture, and all these animals were in there, but they came out up here off the mesa to come down to it. So anyway, we get all loaded up the next day and we go out there. So I said, Joe and I are going to ride up that mountain, get on top, and we're going to come through that little bit of brush, and we're going to come down into this herd, and I'm going to pick me out a buffalo, and we're going to rope it. And the director's going, that's going to be wild, but can you do that? Bundy, you've seen me rope over. What are you talking about? So anyway, God.
What could possibly go wrong?
Now you guys are right here. You're downwind of the animals, so they might look at you, but they're not going to run from you. But don't get any closer than what you are now. Just, you can photograph stock footage here, but got to give us time to get up there. So it took us about a half hour to get where we wanted to go. And I rode over to the side and looked down, and they've already moved the camera up into some of the animals, which has made them just keep moving away from them. And I go, you got to quit doing that, or pretty soon you're going to lose them. Now we got to ride up further to get ahead of them. So anyway, so we ride further, and all of a sudden, you hear the whole ground just, I mean, I thought it was a 7-point earthquake.
Wow.
The whole ground is just shaking, and everything had stampeded down there. And all of a sudden there was brush along the edge of this. It's a kind of like a hillside there, and it's about 100 feet long. They all came up that hill and they hit that brush, and we're back here about 100 feet, and that brush just exploded. And I would say 200-300 feet of buffalo come blowing through this, and we're right here. Oh shit! Turn and ride, Joe. We got to ride with them. And so we did. We turned. It's too bad there wasn't a camera back there. It would have been wild looking stuff.
Watching you guys come to camera with all the buffalo chasing you?
Oh, all the herd, yeah. And so we started riding, and I'd say, pull up a little, let them pass us. And so they started going by, and one came, I had my rope all coiled up, and one came right by me right here. And I just slapped him in the face. And it was so dusty, you couldn't see anything from the herd. I mean, there's a huge amount of them. And anyway, so they finally passed us. We pulled up and let the dust settle. And the Capes are known for going off in groups of 3 or 4 or 5. And they get somewhere and they just settle down and lay still. We couldn't find any buffalo. They all disappeared. So we never got that shot. But we did get it where there was some more buffalo later on where I went and roped some. Yeah.
What about the rhinoceros?
The rhinoceros. They went to Uganda and captured 2 rhinos. And they brought them back. And I had to make a pin out of yuki poles, like a stockade.
Yeah.
The whole poles are butted together like that. And it was in the shape of like a football. And at the one end of it, I had a gate you could just raise up and down. And I had a camera right there at the gate, a couple of them up in the trees. And I told them, I'm going to work this guy in a circle and just, you guys follow me. And I had 3 white hunters. And my father-in-law was one of them. He's an excellent hunter. I said, if this guy gets me down, blow his heart out. Because, I mean, he'll get me down and run that horn right through me. He'll just stand right on me. So I said,
this is a rhinoceros.
so anyway, they get all the cameras all set. And at this point, I had my rope in my hand, and I had it all coiled up. Because I'd been another scene before, I got knocked off my horse by a python.
Are you doubling Hugh O'Brien in this?
Yeah. So anyway, one of the big game guys there, he said, hey, when you call these rhinos, make a sound like a baby rhino. That's how they sound. And they'll look for you, and then pretty soon they'll spot you. When they spot you, you'll see her spot you, and she's on her way, I guarantee you. So it was a good shot because open the gate, and right there's the rhino, and it's kind of doing this, And I called, all of a sudden, and then it came out and went right by this camera and charging right at me. So that was really a good shot,
I bet it was a good shot.
So then I had my football, I had all my cleats on, I had all my stuff on. And so I just phoned it this way, and it started to move that way, and I took off and went around, and it hooked at me. But when they don't fight like a bull. They fight like, if this is its front feet, they'll plant this foot and they pivot on it, but their back feet, they sidestep like that, and they get their bodies around. They can't run like that.
Okay.
So anyway, so I just went around it and then took it over and went by a kind of a tree that a camera guy was up there in. Went around the tree with it, came back over here in the center and just stopped. I said, and I'm out of breath. I mean,
because you're running from a rhino.
I'm not only out of breath, I got to clean my shorts. Anyway, it sold up on me, which means that they stopped like a regular. You'll see it in bullfights where the matador goes out and he fights it for a while, and pretty soon it just does this and shakes its head, and the matador will walk up and slap its cape, and then they'll maybe charge at him a little bit. So that's what I did with him. He saw up, and I'm cut the cameras. I don't want to cut the cameras. What if he charges? Cut the cameras, Bundy. I'm out of breath. Jesus. So anyway, we just sat there, these rhinos looking at me. What if he charges? He won't charge, I'm telling you. So anyway, I said, okay, now roll. So when they rolled, I walked up and I just slapped him in the face. I'm at a side angle like this, so I slapped him and just came back. And he made about 4 lunges at me, then he stopped again. I said, I think we're done.
He was done.
He was done.
He was done? And were you done?
And I was up to here, yeah.
You were stunt coordinator, fall guy, and Monty Cox brought a couple lions out.
Oh yes, dear old Monty. Monty's a good old friend of mine, stunt guy, but he's a wild animal man, and I've known him for years. And we had a sequence where Lee Majors is going to be chased by a lion up a tree. And so I'm going to be doubling Lee. So I went to Monty, I said, hey, bring Simba out here, because she didn't have any teeth. And then bring your other male lion that's really good for attacking stuff. He said, okay. So he comes out there. So we got Simba chasing me, and I go up this tree, and she climbs up, and she can't hurt you. All she can do is slap you hard. But anyway, she's chasing me up this tree, and she's grabbing my feet and doing this, and finally I get in the fork, and we had enough of that, so we cut. So he puts her back up there with this other male lion, and we were doing something else, on the show, and all of a sudden you hear this, all this stuff going on, and I said, Monty, he said, oh, that damn other lion, I wish I could remember the name of that lion. We'll call him Killer.
Okay.
So we run up there, and he's mauling this Simba.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so Monty had this cane, and he runs in there. I mean, God almighty, he scares the hell out of me. And he beats this old lion over the head, takes his chain and hooks him up to a chain, you know, and beating him and beating him and beating him. I said, Monty, you're gonna get him where he's gonna attack you. No, we don't do that. I said, okay. And all of a sudden the lion takes off. And somehow the chain came off, so he runs across, and he runs down off of this ledge of this, where there's a sand wash, and he runs down into the sand wash. That's none of it. And Monty had this temper where nothing's going to stop him. He goes after him. He says, Monty, where are you going? I'll kill that. I said, I'm telling you what, you better not hang in. Wait a minute. So I think, shit, so I jump in the Fall Guy truck, and I take off and go off this berm. When I come around down the wash, the cat is sitting here, and his tail's going just before they strike. That's what they do.
Just before he's going to kill Monty.
Yeah, and Monty's out there about 20 feet. And I holler, I said, Monty, he's going to get you. He said, run over him. Kill him. I said, you got it. And I went and run right by him, and boy, I hit that cat straight on. And that sucker leaped away from here to the wall. And then he came around, and he started coming back at Monty. He said, hit him again. So I got around, and like it was a 4x4, and I hit him again, and it knocked him away from where Monty was, and now you're going down the river.
Oh, jeez.
And he's gone. And there's picnickers and people. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. If the lion wasn't so riled up in its mind about Monty,
he's going to kill something.
Who knows what he would have done, you know? And so we drive down there and see a lion? And this one guy with his girlfriend, they're up on their camping table hanging on to each other, you know, like this. Yeah, he's down there. He went down. So we keep driving. Pretty soon he's held up under a bush. And I said, I'm not going to leave you here, but we need to get the trailer. Put that other cat in the trailer, bring the trailer down here, open the gate, and there's a petition where she's in the upper.
She's going to be safe.
She's safe, but it'll decoy him to get in there. I'll stay here. No, you're coming with me. Well, no. You'll be dead. So we get the trailer and do all that, and we go back. And that's what we did. We opened the gate and we backed the trailer up into this lion, and you know. And then actually Monty went around in front of the fender. Come on, I said, Monty, I'm telling you what. He said, I'll jump in the back of the pickup. I said, yeah, well, so will he. Yeah, but that was, you know.
That's Monty.
That was Monty. Yeah, that's the lion story on Fall Guy.
Yeah. Well, there's another story, though, from, you guys were both on Judge Roy Bean, which is a big thing, again with Newman. And that was a big deal. You had an all-star cast of stunt people down there on that one, too, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had Jeannie Epper playing a part.
All the Epper girls were there.
Yeah.
They were all hookers.
Yeah.
They played hookers, yeah.
And we stayed in a hotel in Tucson that had a little train that went around the grounds.
The DI.
And the Desert Inn.
The Desert Inn.
So this train, I don't know, it was like 6 cars, little gasoline engine in it. And one night we were in the bar and we decided to hotwire this train.
You're going to hotwire the train, okay.
So we got it running, and everybody came out, and everybody's climbing on the train, and we start the train, and there's a throttle on it, but it's either full throttle or no throttle. So there's a 90-degree corner about, I don't know, 50 feet ahead of us from where it stops. So we get to that corner and we're going, I don't know, maybe 15 miles an hour, but it literally is a 90-degree corner. And so we start around the corner and I can feel the engine starting to turn.
It's going to go over.
Yeah. So it did. And every car just followed it. So there are people getting up and the train's a wreck. And it just kind of, the whole thing spilled out onto the ground, and they had golf carts that they used to use for room service. And we got a golf cart. Terry Leonard was driving it, and I was riding with him. And we were chasing the first AD. He was a guy named Mickey McCardle, great guy. He ran into his room, and right next to the door was a big window. So he goes right to the window, and he's waving us with the single finger salute. And Leonard hit the door so hard we wedged the golf cart into the door, knocked the whole frame out of it.
You know, interestingly enough, Leonard said you were driving.
No, he was. And somebody jumped on the back and was pushing. I don't remember who that was. But anyway, so that was just one incident. The DP got thrown in a swimming pool. It was just a way to let off a lot of steam, and where all this came from was we had rehearsed a sequence early on in the story where Newman comes to this bar or turned out to be a bar called the Law West of the Pecos, and it was at that initially it was a whorehouse, and so there's a lot of bad guys in it, and these girls, and the story is that Newman dives through a window and shoots 2 or 3 of these guys, and dives out another window and comes back through the door and shoots a couple more and goes out until they're all dead.
Until they're all dead.
So it's one sequence that goes on for a long time. I mean, it's probably 40 seconds long. And so we got ready to shoot it. We'd rehearsed it a couple days. And the walls were all loaded with bullet hits. And so we rolled the cameras, and there was a problem with 8 cameras, so we cut the roll and gave them a minute, and they said, okay, we're ready. So we roll the cameras. We shoot the whole thing. All the effects go off. Everything's good. Not 1 foot of film went through 8 cameras. So it's like a 3-day job to reload all the hits in the wall. So they do that, and when we shoot it, and that was I think the day before this explosion at night in the bar, and it was a really fun sequence. There's the thing about the whole stunt community. There's a lot of camaraderie. And a lot of it is built around what you do to the other guys. You know, it's all in fun and all of that. And an example of that was Terry Leonard wanted to leave early. He had a date in Phoenix
with Gigi, the famous Gigi.
I don't know who it was. So he said, "Can I leave at 2 o'clock?" I said, "Yeah, probably." So I was thinking about this, and I say to Stan Barrett, let's jack Leonard's car up. So he goes and he gets the effects guys, and they raise the back end of this Cadillac off the ground, but it doesn't look like it's raised. So Leonard comes to me. We break for lunch, and we come back, and right after that, Leonard says, "I'm going to go." Fine. And so he's out there, and he starts the car, and he puts it in drive. It doesn't go anywhere. Puts it in reverse. It doesn't go anywhere. So he's pretty sure the transmission's gone. So it's now about 5:30, and we wrap. We had early calls. So we wrap, and as we're leaving, Barrett sticks his head out at Leonard and says, "Leonard, take the jack out from under the rear wheels." So we're going on down the road. It's about 3 miles, maybe 5 miles of dirt road to get to the highway. We're at Benson, which is east of Tucson. I don't know, 50 miles. So just before we get to the dirt road, you can see this cloud of dust coming behind us. And it's Leonard. You got to figure it out. And he's going for the highway.